Hello and welcome. I'm Elaine Canyon, sweetly writing happily ever after, one book at a time. And in today's video, we're building your cover design toolbox. Hello, and we are back from NaNoWriMo, back to regular videos. I'm super excited for this video. I hope your NaNoWriMo went well. But today I want to talk to you about the colors I'm choosing for my reader magnet, which is super exciting. And we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive. I'm going to show you how you can use colors. I'm going to show you a series of covers, all by the same designer, same author, and they are fabulous. They are my favorite covers right now. And we're going to talk about how the colors were chosen, as far as where they fit on a color wheel, where they fit in the psychology of color, what messages they're sending. And then we're going to talk about the colors I'm choosing, why I'm choosing them, and what color combination they actually fall as, and how you can kind of break some of those color rules to make things work for you to get across what you're hoping to get across in the experience you're trying to sell with your cover. Because remember, covers sell experiences, they don't sell your story. So let's jump right in. Okay, so what I have right here is Inkscape, and these covers are the covers that St. Jupiter designed for S.L. Prater, and they are her Court of Tricksters. And we are going to look in at these and get a feel for what each one is. So let's start with a Court of Tricksters here. And again, like I said, this is Inkscape, and so when you're looking at different programs, this will give you a good idea of what Inkscape can do for you when it comes to using colors. So this is a Court of Tricksters. We have talked a lot about this cover, partially because it is one of my absolute favorite covers. And I want to point something out to you here in a second too, but the colors that St. Jupiter chose for this were this kind of pretty blue color, and then she did different hues of that blue. So I've got these different hues here, and then she did gold, which is a specific color choice in yellow. This isn't just yellow, this is specifically gold. And then the hues that come with that. So all I've done to find these is I've created a square, but then I've come over here. There is a little dropper tool, and if I click that dropper tool, I can come over to here and I can, hold on really quick because this is going to do things. So let's get that there so that way it doesn't ruin the colors I already have. And then as I pull the dropper over, if I can zoom in here so you can see it a little better, you can see that it picks up the color that I'm looking at. So let me zoom out and then let's pick one. So I'm going, there we go. I'm going to click here on this pretty blue. And if I click on it, it makes that square blue, because that's the square I have, or rectangle. That's the shape that I have selected right now. And then if I come over here, I can get this and it'll change to that color. If I want to pull one of these golds, I can pull one of these golds. If I want to pull a lighter blue, I can do that. Darker blue, I can do that. So I have a lot of options here to be able to pull color. And that's what I've done with all of these. So let's get rid of that and get rid of that. Okay. So one of the things I want to show you here is this white. If you look over here on the side where we've got all of the colors listed, you can see that right here, this is actually a blue. So what St. Jupiter's done here is really, really clever. She's taken the blue that is most prevalent, it's this darker blue here, and is the focal point color, because remember that dark color is what pulls us in to this couple. She's taken that and she's made it her white by just pulling all of the hue out of it, which means this white is actually different than every other white on these covers. And that is a great tool for you to use to be able to make sure that your whites don't become so stark. So I pulled this white by clicking right here in the center of the O of, because that's where the brightest white is. But it meshes so well and helps all of these lighter colors look better because it's this white. And the way that she's got these other colors, all of these colors here come from this line. So once you've picked your color, picked your darkest color, or even just picked the color that you like the best, this is where you can come in and get the darker shade that you want to get. So the color combination that we've got here for a Court of Tricksters, it's 1/3 of a triad. So remember, a triad is when we make a triangle. So we go from here to here, and then it'd come over to the red and then back to the yellow. So yellow, blue, and red are our triangle. This is gold, which is a form of yellow. And I've chosen this color wheel specifically because it's linked in the description. It's actually a color wheel that you can use for free off of Wikipedia Commons. And that's why I'm using this one, so that way you'll have access to it. So you can get to this same color wheel in the comment or in the description below. So we've got 1/3 of a triad, and that's a good way to choose colors because it's also pulling off of, it's not quite a split complementary because the complementary to yellow is purple and the split complementary would be this blue violet, but it plays on that same tone. And then we have the color psychology. So blue tells us authority, stability, reliability, tradition, and sophisticated, especially for those darker blue colors. And then gold gives us happiness, shrewdness, wealth, success, extravagance, and it represents the best or the victor. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time here because we have talked about a Court of Tricksters in several videos, and we all know how much I absolutely adore this. So let's move over here. This is King of Tricksters, and I'm going to be honest with you, of all of these covers, this is the one that I don't love, and it's just simply because purple and silver isn't my favorite combination. But Court of Tricksters and King of Tricksters is a duology. So the importance here is that S.L. Prater needs her readers to know that these are going to be a continuation of similar characters and similar storyline. And you can see that because they are nearly identical covers. The only difference are the words and the positioning of our couple and then some of the smaller elements. So instead of the sunburst with the pretty swirls around it, we have crowns with stars. We have the antlers up here, but the tree mosaic is the same. This is the same tree. Like Saint Jupiter has done a really great job of making sure that everything else about this cover is nearly identical, and the gears have become sunbursts. So I completely understand what is going on here. I completely see design-wise why these decisions were made. All I'm saying is that purple and silver just isn't my favorite combination. So for me, it's a little hard. Now this purple is actually a bit on the red side, which is interesting. I probably would have been tempted, and maybe St. Jupiter did this and it just didn't work the way she wanted it to. I would have been tempted to go more of a blue violet instead of a red violet, simply because doing that would have, to me, meshed a little better with the Court of Tricksters cover, but that might be a situation where she tried it and it didn't. And something that's interesting about this silver that I didn't realize until I did this is that it is silver, but it's actually more of a like pewter silver. There's a lot of purple in these colors. If you look here, we can see that if I up the shade all the way, or the saturation, I'm sorry, all the way, it will become purple. And these are colors that I pulled with the dropper tool out of all of these silvers. So our colors here, this one is actually just all monochromatic, which I didn't realize until I did this. And this is a great thing for you to do as well when you're looking at picking your own colors. Find covers that you really admire and then go through and pull out with the dropper tool in whatever program you're using. Pull out the colors, find out what's going on, because I would have told you that this was blue and gray when I first looked at it. It wasn't until I actually stopped and analyzed the colors and pulled them out that I realized, oh no, it's not. It is monochromatic. All of these are purple. All of my grays are actually just lower saturations of a purple. So that creates this really pretty monochromatic scale. And The eye thinks it's silver, so you still get the psychology of it being distinguished and wealth and glamour, elegance, and manipulative, because silver does come off manipulative, and that is important for this cover because we are talking about the Fae. We're talking about a court of tricksters, and the Fae are classically manipulative. But we still get everything that purple tells us: the royalty, the nobility, the magic, the wealth, the extravagance, the devotion. That devotion is important as well because this is a duology. This tells us that things are going to keep going from where they were here. And now, instead of this blooming happiness and love that has started in our gold colors, now we've moved over to the purple. Now that love is a devotion. That love is continuing and we're moving forward. So really well done. This is, there's a lot to learn just from these two covers. So now let's move over. This is the rest of the series. So I'm going to show you really quick because they're just gorgeous. Wedded to the Wanton Witch, Mated to the Mad Marquess, and Dance with the Dragon Duke. These are absolutely stunning. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love this series of covers. Saint Jupiter is a gorgeous artist. If I ever meet her in real life, I might just like pass out and fangirl. I'm either going to make a fool of myself fangirling about how awesome her work is, or I'm going to get completely tongue-tied and pass out. One of the two is going to happen because she's just so good at this. So let's look at Wedded to the Wanton Witch. So we've got these oranges and blues, and again, same thing with the white. So what we're doing here is playing with a complementary color system. And the orange comes with warmth and fire and passion, enthusiasm, joy, and power. And then that light blue gives us different feelings than the dark blue does that we saw in Court of Tricksters. We get a calm and peaceful, serene, constant, unchanging. But we also can get some of this icy, cold, and unfeeling. And from what I know about Wedded to the Wanton Witch, from just the synopsis and from S.L. Prater's social media, this fits really well because you do get the feeling that the two of them are very cold to other people, but then you find out as the story moves on that they're not so cold to each other. And the same thing with all of our other covers is that we've got the couple as the darker part of our color system. Even here in King of Tricksters, the darkest part is down here in the couple's capes and dresses. Same thing with Court of Tricksters. So that dark part is down here at the bottom, but it's still darker than everything around it. When we come over here to Wedded to the Wanton Witch, all of our darkest colors are in the couple, and that is because they are our focus. They are who we want to be paying attention to. They help tell you what the genre is, more so than anything else on this cover. The couple together communicates that, and it gives that experience. We also see thorns, so we know things are going to be a little on the thorny side, which from what I've read, most definitely. But we also see things that continue from the other covers. So in King of Tricksters and Court of Tricksters, we have these tree branches, and they're so subtly back here in the clouds, which I think is just this beautiful touch. So we still feel like we're in the same series, and we still have a lot of the same elements, but this cover is a cover unto itself, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So now let's come over here to Mated to the Mad Marquess. This one is also fun, and I love that we're pulling in consistencies of the forest all the way through. So here we've got a little bit of the forest in Wedded to Wanton Witch, and then we've got it here as well in Mad Marquess, and you can see it a little bit here in Dance with the Dragon Duke. But we've got all of our elements here in the coloring that help to bring the focus to the couple. And St. Jupiter does a great job of that by making them the darkest focus, but by also doing things to help lighten them up so that you're still drawn to them and you can still see definition in them. So we still have the trees being brought through in this cover. And then the sparkle of fairy lights is through here. And there's a little bit, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of a radial gradient right here that just lightens their faces a little bit. And this part of her chest and this part of his chest enough that it draws your eye in, and it makes it so the white in the background. Remember, the white is part of the color system here. And by putting this radial starburst gradient right here, what it's doing is it makes that white in the background less stark. The white is actually just a hair lighter than this gray, this blue gray that's right here. So all of that helps to soften this. Keep that in mind whenever you're using your neutral colors. You want them to be soft. You do not want your natural colors to slap your reader in the face in contrast with everything else. This is what sets a lot of professional designers above mediocre designers, is that they understand how to make everything softer so it blends together. If this background were straight white and we didn't have this radial gradient, this silhouette of the couple would be so stark. It would probably feel jarring. In all of these covers, you can see it. You can see it here where it's actually part of the forest and the blue. And so it helps to create that lightness, and that starburst is right there next to their face. You can see it here as well. The starburst is behind their face, and it helps to create the same thing over here. There's a softness. The white doesn't feel like it's getting in the way. So made it to the Marquess is 1/2 of a tetrad. So remember, a tetrad is when we draw a square. So we start at one color, we go across, or we go over, and then we come across, and we come over and down. So a tetrad here would technically be this like periwinkle kind of blue over to the purple, up to the orange, over to the yellow, and back down. So it's the two complementary colors coming together. Now in this situation, instead of taking their complements, we've taken these two over here. And what that does is it helps to create a softer palette. So instead of having the contrast of purple and yellow and blue and orange, we have almost an analogous color palette, but we're skipping these middle colors. And then we get our color psychology as well. So we have purple again because we have royalty and nobility, magic, wealth, extravagance, devotion. All of that comes with Marquess. And then that periwinkle. And what I love about the periwinkle is that it brings that serenity in. It's calm like our light blue was, but it also brings a comfort, and it communicates an abiding affection or love. So it has a staying power to it that you don't get with blue specifically. By mixing that purple and blue together to get this really pretty periwinkle, we get that feeling. And so I've kind of tried to say that that's periwinkle. Like I said, this is not an extensive color wheel. You can go back to my video on color. There are tons and tons of color wheels you can get on Amazon. But just keep in mind, you can also find tons and tons and tons of color wheels online for free that you can use or look at. Keep in mind, when you're looking at them, just get a good idea of where you're at on the color wheel. So does it help to have the color wheel that has exactly the colors you're looking at? Yes, it does. Is it necessary? No, it's not. This is not periwinkle, but it's pretty close, and it gives me a good idea of where we're at and allows me to communicate to you what's going on, but it also allows me to see, okay, what color combination is being used here. So now let's look at Dance with the Dragon Duke. I love this cover, you guys. It's so pretty. So again, we still have our tree branches here. We have thorns here too, which I thought was actually really, really cool. That the tree branches and the thorns have come together in this book to kind of be the same thing. And that calls back to the orange thorns that we had here in Wedded to the Wanton Witch. So it helps to tie the series together, especially because I believe this is the last book in the series. There might be one more. And if there is, I'm so excited because I'm sure St. Jupiter has done the cover for it. And honestly, y'all, I've almost just decided to buy these books for no other reason than I want the covers. But looking here at what we've got these really pretty green teal, like it's a really dark emerald through here. And then we have a brighter green, almost a jade green. and then the orange moves through, and most of our orange is actually pretty light. There's a little bit of the darker orange here, and those darker parts show us that it's more of a red orange, that kind of rusty red orange color. But they move through, and most everything else is lighter. And again, we've got that radial gradient right here that helps us to lighten things up and make it softer around the faces and blend everything together. So we have almost this watercolor effect here with Dance with the Dragon Duke that we don't really have with the other colors or covers to the same extent. A little bit here in Wedded to the Wanton Witch, but not to the same extent that we have with Dance with the Dragon Duke. So we get all of the that softness through here. And again, we've got the forest and the fairy lights in the silhouette of the couple and the dragon tail that comes here, that comes off of our Dragon Duke, but that it's so subtle. It's so subtle as it wraps in front of our silhouette for the girl, and then up and around, for our princess actually, and then up and around. And then we keep the feeling of these thorns by making sure that the dragon's tail has all of these hooks here. And I know I said this was all about color, but I'm just gushing about how beautifully done these covers are, because I cannot get over, like, I'm in awe. When I grow up as a designer, I want to be Saint Jupiter. That's where we're at. So if we come down here, we've got 1/3 of a triad. So remember, a triad is drawing the triangle. So green, purple, orange. We throw the purple out, and then we have just the green and the orange. I've picked that softer orange here because that's the main color. We do have some real red orange up in here, and then some full toned orange. But I've deliberately picked this one because the most prominent orange that you see through here is that yellowish orange. It's not quite so red. And so you see here, that yellow orange tells us happiness, enthusiasm, warmth, energy, change, and fire. The fire is less so. The fire is specifically tied to the orange. Normally that fire comes when it's closer to the red orange. And that's part of why I've put it in there, is because we do have hints of it. We do have some red orange that comes through here. And so it does hint at the fact that there is going to be fire, that feeling of passion and fire in there, but that the emphasis, because most of the orange is a yellow orange, our emphasis is on that warmth, the happiness, the energy, and being willing to change, having enthusiasm about what's going on. And then green gives us feelings of luxury and elegance, opulence, the love, loyalty, and renewal, especially because we have all these different greens. And so this lighter jade green is going to gives us different feelings in there than this teal darker green. That teal darker green is where we're going to get the opulence, the elegance, that loyalty and love, and luxury. But the renewal comes specifically from that lighter shade, because we don't look over here at this darker green color and think of nature, and we don't necessarily think of growth. But this lighter green brings that in, and you can see it come through here in our letters, and then again up here above the dragon that is so beautifully painted in the background. So all of that to say that Saint Jupiter is just one of the most amazing artists on the face of the planet. And someday I want to grow up to be Saint Jupiter and design as beautifully as she designs. Because these are just everything I ever want to be as a designer. So in that, let's come down here and let's look at the colors I've chosen. So I've chosen an analogous color scheme, and I've done it for a few reasons. So I'm using this lighter blue color here as our teal, because I'm doing teal, and then a darker blue and a darker purple, and then the white. And if I click here on the white, you can see I've done the same thing that we've seen in all of the covers up there. My white is actually the lightest shade of the purple that I've chosen. And all of these purples come from this setup here. And then the blues, all of my blues that I've chosen here come from this same line. And then my teals all come from this same line. So the color psychology that I want to make sure I'm putting forward, I want a little bit of purple. The purple is actually going to be, I'm pretty sure, my accent color. It's going to do devotion, magic, and nobility, but it's not the color I'm going to put all of the emphasis on. Most of it is going to be this blue. I want the stability and the reliability. And then the teal, the openness, communication, clarity, and renewal. So the purple is going to help bring some of the magic in. But these are the two colors that are going to really carry the rest of the cover. And using that analogous color scheme gives me a lot to play with, because like I showed you here, I can go through and I can pick any teal on here that I think is going to actually help. And you can see that St. Jupiter's done that well in all of her covers. You can see it here, but especially in Dance with the Dragon Duke. We have all sorts of greens through here and all sorts of oranges through here. We have so much color through here. And all of it falls on these spectrums of, well, this is the orange I'm using, and I can pull any color off of the orange that I need. So like if I clicked here, all of these oranges you can find in this, and all of these teals you can find in this, and all of the greens. So I can go through and I can pick out what I need to be able to add emphasis on what needs to be emphasized, specifically the couple, also the snake. And the other thing that I really love that St. Jupiter does here in all of her covers with color is how she creates depth. I'm going to do another video on specifically just creating depth and ways to do that in your cover. But really quick, let's just look at how St. Jupiter has created depth by varying color. And so you can see in all three of these that here, let's zoom in here. It's easier to see on the Duke. So if I zoom in here, you can see that this is not a flat cover. This is a variation on our forest that we first saw in the silhouette of Court of Tricksters. And so we get a little bit of line through here, a little bit of tree line through here, and then a lot of variation in this cover, specifically through her dress. So I get some tree line, but I also get lightness through here, a darker bit here, and then over in the Dragon Duke, I get a darkness through here and lightness through here. It adds so much depth. You can see it over here too in the smoke effect that she's put on to help create that feeling of dragon fire. You can see how it creates layers. So we have the smoke, and where the smoke is on top of the trees, it's darker. And it gives you that feeling that there's more here than what we originally see when our eye just looks at it. Your first look at it, it pulls you in. It does everything it's supposed to. But when you take the time to stop and really pay attention to it, you see so much more because of all of the different layers and depth of color. So even through here on Mated to the Mad Marquess, if I zoom in, there's a whole nother layer of color right here over the layer of forest that's there as well. So this layer of forest is still underneath this design that's on his arm to specify whatever his clothing, the style of clothing he's wearing. And you can see that also in the fairy wings of our fairy here, or our witch. And you can see how you've got all the different almost watercolor effect through her wings that gives us that iridescent feel, but it still has the remnants of the forest in it. We still have some of the same lines in her wings that we have in these tree branches, and you can see it through here. And then we see the same sort of pattern right here at the bottom of her wing that we see here in his arm. And then you've got the birds in the background flying into the forest. So there's just so much that's going on here. And all of it, almost all of it, is done in the way she's using color, in the way that none of these tree branches are all the same color throughout. Not a single one. The way that the thorns, not a single vine of thorns is the same color all the way through. they change and they develop and they grow. There's gradients, there's darker, there's lighter. You can see it in the text too. The text is the exact same way. It starts darker, it moves to lighter. It shifts in where the patterns are, in where certain overlays hit and certain overlays don't. So like right here, we've got that gray cloud. It's over the word mad, but it's not over the word mated. And so it helps to add that feeling. This is a really great example because not only do we have that radial gradient here so that it draws the eye to the word dragon, but it also helps to lighten up the words. And we've got another radial gradient here that I just noticed. All of this brings so much depth and light to the cover that wouldn't be there normally. So when you're choosing colors for your own cover, keep in mind that you have so much you can do with them. And by choosing a color combination that you know will work, and then having those colors have their spectrum, and being able to use white in ways that will lighten it and will blend everything together, you get covers that are just stunning. And I'm going to be perfectly straight with you. This takes a lot of time. This takes a lot of know-how. This isn't something that you get right in 30 minutes. This is something that you learn how to master. This is something you learn how to do. And by doing the work to learn how to work with color and layer things together and create these beautiful works of art like this, you really can create covers that not only catch the eye, but that will pull the reader in again and again and again, because every time they look at your cover, they're going to see something new. They're going to see something different. Okay, that was a lot. Thank you for listening to me gush about how much I absolutely adore Saint Jupiter's work, because this is amazing. This is beautiful. And I adore it. But there's so much to learn here, and you can do the same thing. So with whatever your genre is, go find a series. Go find a series of book covers that you look at them and you go, I wish my cover could look like that. And then really analyze what's going on. So I've gone through and I've used these covers to analyze color, but you could use a set of covers to analyze everything. You could pay attention to what the layout of each cover is and how they're using layout in each one to help tie the series together, to help pull the reader in. You can use it to analyze typography, to figure out what you do and do not like about the typography in those covers, how they're using it, where it's placed. The placement of typography is going to help you better understand your layout, where it's going, where it's not going, how you want it to look. So all of these things that we've talked about today in color with these covers, I could come back through here and I could talk about layout. And we did for a little bit talk about depth. I specifically talked about how she used color to create depth, but I could keep going and talk about layering for depth. And I could talk about everything else that she's doing in these covers to create something that not only is cohesive throughout, but is just absolutely stunning in the way that they're done. So I'm going to give you homework again, like I did in the last video. But instead of going and watching someone else work through designing covers, I want you to go find a series of covers that you absolutely love. And they don't have to be like this, where they're all the same designer and they're all in the same series by the same author. But I want you to go and I want you to find at least 5 covers that you look at them and you say, I love this cover. And you look at it and you think, maybe I'll buy the book just because I love the cover, just because it's so captivating. Find those 5 covers, and then Inkscape is free. You can do this for free in Inkscape. Go ahead and get it downloaded, or download your program of choice that you'd like to do. But it needs to be a program that can pull color out of an image and show you a swatch of that color. Okay, so that's what you want to do, because I want you to go through and I want you to recreate the same thing I've done here. I want you to recognize what colors are being used, determine what relation those colors have. So are they a third of a triad, like Court of Tricksters is? Or are they split complementary? Or are they analogous like my colors are going to be? Or are they monochromatic? What's their color relation? And if you need to remember what those are, then remember, I have a whole video that talks about color. I will link it in the cards and in the description below. So I want you to go through and really analyze what you're looking at on a color basis for those 5 covers that you pick. And by doing that, you're going to be able to start thinking about the colors you want in your own cover. If you're choosing to do a photo manipulation cover, you still need to know this. You still need to know what colors you're choosing and what color palette you're using, because even photo manipulated covers have a color scheme. And if you watch the video in the cards and in the description, you will see I go through and break down a photo manipulated cover. So that way you can see the colors that have been chosen specifically for that cover, and they don't deviate from there. They stay in that color scheme. I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It helps other authors find it. If you want to know more about any of these covers or have questions about any of this, I hope you'll leave them down below in the comments. I promise that I'll come back and answer your questions and help guide you. And then lastly, next week will be my last video for 2023. I will be taking the rest of December off so that I can spend it with my family over the holidays and celebrate Christmas and everything else, New Year's, all of that. So I will be back in January. Probably the second week of January is what it's looking like based on how long we're going to be gone. So I will see you next week. And then after that, I won't see you again until 2024. So if you don't want to miss any videos, make sure you subscribe. I post videos on Wednesdays about cover design, discovery writing, and self-publishing on a shoestring budget. I hope to see you again soon.